I don't trust anyone who responds to emails at the speed of light. Working on a client request to upload some contacts into his account, CRM Tech Support. Pretty standard. For some quick context, we can upload as many contacts as you want, but it obviously takes longer depending on how many are in your file. Also, to upload contact files from a spreadsheet, we have to assign the spreadsheet columns to fields in the system using our little upload program. Which means that clients are supposed to put their contacts info in relevant columns, one column each for the name, phone number, email address, etc. This client in particular was feeling a little frisky that day. Had over 20k contact records. Thanks, I hate it. File was a mess. Names in the phone number column, random strings of text in the email column, bits of address info just scattered throughout the entire thing. It was as if Jackson Pollock had a fight with Microsoft Excel and won. No way the upload tool was going to accept it. Half these contacts didn't have names or contact info, just descriptions. Contacts do have to have at least a first or last name in order to be uploaded. Ticket titled urgent automatically puts you in my personal sinners queue as last priority, so I send a detailed email letting him know everything wrong with the file and what he needs to fix before it can be uploaded. Close ticket, X out of ticket, move on to other work. Before I'm able to actually move on to anything else, I see a ticket reopened notification in my inbox. Guess who? Yes, please upload the contacts as specified, it is very urgent, thank you. I squint at the timestamp on the ticket. 32 seconds between me closing the case and him responding. My dude either has some wild thumb speed or he responded with his mind. I wait about 30 minutes before replying back with the obligatory per my last email and copy / paste my response. 30 minutes in the sinner's queue didn't cool him off, as he responded around 25 seconds later. Contacts are exactly how I want them now, please upload, it is very important, I go to lunch for an hour. Return and reply back letting him know that I physically can't upload his contacts until he makes the changes I asked for. 44 seconds later, I looked over the file before I sent it, everything looks good, I want this uploaded immediately. It's at this point that he goes into level 2 of the sinner's queue while I get to other tickets / calls. Level 2 means you might get a reply from me by end of day, if not, I'll get to you tomorrow sometime. Please find something to do other than refresh your inbox every half second. At some point, Speedy sent in 3 or 4 new tickets to the queue, all just 20 to 30 seconds to a minute apart, angsting about his contacts not being uploaded. A co-worker of mine finds them, and sees that I was already working with him. We chat a bit, and she figures she'll respond in the hopes of hearing the same thing from 2 different people might knock some sense into him. She also included a screenshot of my email, highlighting the bits detailing the changes we need and the reasons for them. Shockingly, Speedy doesn't respond for 3 whole motherfucking minutes. Maybe the downs finally kicked in. I did not see that part, I am sorry. I will look at this and get back to you. The first line of my email said something along the lines of hi, /customer /, I was trying to upload your file, but there are a few changes we'll need you to make first. I can only guess that he read this line and just stopped processing inputs altogether. TLDR, Chucklefuck prides himself in responding to emails faster than he can mentally process them. Your software's security flaws cost us thousands of dollars. This customer used one of our software packages, and when they added another workstation, they chose to do it themselves, and rather than deal with an IT professional, they shared out C on each computer to everyone. By the way, they were using very old all-in-one touchscreen machines running Windows 98. Summer comes along and they decide to offer free internet to their guests via Wi-Fi, and so they put an unsecured access point in a common area and attach that access point to their network. That same network isn't in the least bit secure. Shortly after this, we get a call wanting us to figure out why their software has stopped working. They are a pretty close drive for one of our employees, so they head on over the next morning and discover that not only is our software missing, but so is nearly everything else. In the root of C, there's a new readme.txt, and it explains that the person who did this was just driving by looking for unsecured Wi-Fi and wanted to teach them a lesson. The owner of this business had a lawyer send us a really nasty letter explaining how we were negligent in allowing our software to operate like this, and that we were responsible for the costs of having an IT professional recover this data and for loss of business. We sent the lawyer back support ticket notes and emails showing that the customer chose to install on their own, and also that we had provided installation instructions that clearly state how important data security is and to never do the things they did. We also recommended the lawyer contact an IT professional and get their opinion on giving guests unrestricted access to an unsecured network of outdated computers running operating systems that had reached their end of life years prior. We never heard back from the lawyer, but the business owner called us to have us do the software install on all new, up-to-date computers. He had also hired an IT professional to oversee things. That was an expensive lesson for him. When two old folks come into a wireless retail store, you already know it's gonna be hell. I work at a wireless retail store. Yesterday I had this woman in her 60s come in, with her husband who had lost his phone. They didn't want to do an insurance claim and just wanted to upgrade. I told them even if they'd got a new phone, there was no way for us to transfer the data from the old phone to the new phone since they didn't have the old one on them. Immediately they started throwing questions at me, specifically if I was in training. I have only been there 4 months, and don't have tons of experience, so I am still getting used to the sales part, but I know how to do the job and understand the basics of our systems. I responded and told her no. From start to finish she questioned everything I did and said, bothering my co-worker every few minutes even though he was clearly busy helping some other customers because he knew how to do it. At the beginning, she told me she didn't know much about phones. And then as we went on, she started telling me I didn't know what I was doing, that I had to do such and such first, and made negative comments about literally everything. She made it clear she was worried about her husband not being able to keep his number. I told her not to worry, and that it wouldn't be a problem. I went and got out the new SIM card, and began to update it, but our system was moving slow, it was just taking forever to load. While waiting for it to kick up, her husband asked me what he would need to do in order to make his old device inaccessible in case it was stolen. I explained he'd have to call customer care, explain it to them, and request they block the IMEI. Device blocking isn't something we can do on our end, the company policy. Immediately his wife chimed in, yes you can. They did it for us last time. She turned to my co-worker, and immediately lost her shit. Sir, can you come over here and help her since you know what you're doing? Last time we were able to transfer the number and didn't have to call any numbers. Like, we weren't even talking about that. He explained exactly what I said to her, and she continued to pester him. The rest of the process went rather smoothly, but I could hear them complaining under their breath about everything. When they came in, they specifically asked for the iPhone 11. They kept making comments about how small the phone was, and how it always took 2 hours when they came to a store. I mean, don't come in then. Maybe buy a more expensive, and bigger phone next time. It's always a pain in the ass working with older people like this. Especially when they're never satisfied with anything. The kitchen is on fire, can you log in and fix that? Second post, mobile, background, from the US. Been doing help desk support for 6 years. I worked as in-house IT for 2.5 years, and MSP help desk for 3.5 years. Certified engineer for a VoIP phone system. Most of my training was self-taught, trial and error, YouTube, etc., and the rest was learned on the job. Story time, my first IT job was in-house IT for an entertainment facility, or rather a chain of facilities. I had worked in the facility for quite some time prior to being promoted to IT, started as cashier and worked my way to shift manager. Huge step up, I know, sarcasm. I had experience with how the systems worked and how to interact with customers. The facility had a bar and small restaurant, and we often hosted large events from birthdays to corporate gatherings. There were arcade games and bowling, music and laser lights, the whole 9 yards. I had become very familiar with various issues that occurred throughout the facility, and being a manager, I had to make sure things ran smoothly for the guests. An issue would arise and the cliché "have you tried turning it off and on again" became old. After an altercation with a SHT-faced drunken Karen, involving pitchers of beer being hurled at my head and a call to law enforcement at 3 a.m., I had enough and was ready for a career change. The head of IT caught wind of this, and hired me on the spot. IT would only hire internal employees to save time with training and familiarizing with the facilities. As mentioned in my last post, we had an on-call rotation. During my first week of IT training, more like Pavlov's conditioning, I was asked to shadow my co-worker and assist where I can. One night, maybe my third or fourth IT shift, we received a tech call around midnight. Our office was open 9 to 5, and after hours calls went to voicemail. We'd get an email with a transcription of the message. The message read, "Hi IT guys, the kitchen is on fire. What do I do? Can you just log in and fix that?" It took a few moments for my brain to process whether this was a joke or a serious issue. Being inexperienced, I messaged my co-worker and waited for his response. While waiting, I went ahead and called the client. Got voicemail, and heard nothing from my co-worker. Fantastic, sarcasm. We had remote access to the security system at the client location, so I taught myself how to use our software and take a look. Again, this was my first week on the job, so I didn't know much about our software yet. Literally 1 second after I logged in, the client called me back. "EU, your IT guy, the grill in the kitchen is on fire. Can you just turn on the sprinklers or something?" Me, what? No, I'm afraid I can't. Did you turn off the gas to the grill? Have you called 911? EU, no. Me, turn off the gas. Grab the fire extinguisher and put out the fire. There was a pause. I watched the security camera in the kitchen and saw flames shooting out like dragon's fire from the grill as the client stood dumbfounded. EU, we don't have a fire extinguisher. Me, forehead meets desk. I am looking at the security camera. On the wall behind you is a fire extinguisher. Next to that is the red emergency Q-half lever for the gas. Turn off the gas, and extinguish the fire. EU, how do I do that? One on-the-fly firefighting lesson later, and they managed to extinguish the fire. As the dust settled, I asked, "Me, so why did you call IT for a kitchen fire instead of calling 911? EU, well, I tried calling the shift manager but he didn't answer. So I called the GM, but they didn't answer, and I knew if I called IT you guys had to answer. Can't really argue that logic. Needless to say, I made sure the managers updated their kitchen safety procedures and trained their staff, and placed an order for some new ceiling tiles.